Hey traders, coming to you today, this is Saturday, January the 23rd, 2021, from the back of my truck. Out in the middle of a field here in Lake Havasu, helping my buddy Pitt for a dirt bike race. But we just had an awesome day of trading yesterday, and so I wanted to share a thought with you guys that I shared with my traders in my trading room, and I think it's important for everybody to hear this. And I'm going to title this video, I think, Heads You Lose, Tails You Lose. How we lose money trading. And it really comes down to the psychology of trading and how our mental state affects our results. You think, well, you know, a good trade is a good trade, bad trade is a bad trade. And, you know, regardless of how my attitude is that day, you know, it shouldn't really affect the results of the trade, right? Math is math. But I've just seen this cycle repeat over and over again, and we just went through it here with my trading room, so I just want to share this thought with you. So as many of you know, one of the programs that I run that is sort of my baby, sort of my passion is I do have a private trading room where about 150 of us get together every single day and live trade the markets together. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're in a live Zoom chat, and we're trading the S&P 500 on a day basis, day trade basis, and then every Tuesday and Thursday we're doing some type of an equity trade. So we're trading every single day. The market's open, we're trading. And from November 18th until the end of last year, 2020, we could do no wrong. Not only was every single day a profitable day, we had not one single losing trade, but they were crazy good winners. Like, these were amazingly good winners. These were, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14% rates of return per day type trades. So we're just absolutely killing it, right? Started 2021, and as good as the last month and a half of 2020 was, that's how bad the first 2 weeks of 2021 were. For us. First couple of weeks of January of this month, whatever I touched went against us. And no manner of adjusting or hedging or stop losses or whatever would solve the problem with these trades. I don't know that every trade that we did in the first 2 weeks of this year were losers. I think we maybe had a few winners in there, but not enough to offset the losers that we had. So the first 2 weeks of the year here were brutal. They were ugly. And yesterday, Friday, we just wrapped up the second 2 weeks of this year, the third and the fourth week of this year, and they were amazing again. Every single day, the trades were successful. They were profitable. Every single one. Not a single losing trade, right? So you get this ebb and flow. You get this cycle of good trades, bad trades, good trades, bad trades. And so, you know, how does the psychology of trading get affected by that? There's a couple of things that happen with that process. Number one, that November 18th to December 31st period where we could do no wrong, every trade was just killing it. What happens psychologically as a trader? It doesn't matter how conservative you think you are. It doesn't matter how risk averse you think you are. What happens is we get very myopic in our thinking, and we put up $10,000 and we make $1,000 in a day. Awesome, right? Next day comes along, put up $10,000, make another $1,000. Then put up another $10,000, make $1,000. You're making $1,000 a day. Every day you're putting up 10 grand, you're bringing in like $1,000 a day, right? Rather than just say, this is amazing, what happens, even with the most conservative of traders, is they start to over position size. Rather than being excited that you're making $1,000 a day, we start to think outside of the box a little bit. And we're like, yeah, this is great, but man, what would it look like if I was putting up $50,000 a day instead of $10,000 a day? Man, I'm making $5,000 a day, right? Anybody can get excited about making $5,000 a day, day after day after day after day. And so we over position size. We over allocate too much capital to those trades, and we put too much risk on. What's the risk of a credit spread with a $10,000 trade? Probably 4 to 6 grand, you know? So again, that's not a great day, right? If you put 10 grand up and the trade goes completely against you, blows through both legs of the trade, you lose 4 to 6 grand. That's a bad day for sure. But if you're making $1,000 a day, you kind of say, well, all right, so maybe I got to trade for another week or two, and I'm back into the green. I'm back into profits. What's the risk if you're trading $50,000? Well, that's that's $20,000 to $40,000 of risk in that trade. That's too much. Okay, that's just simply too much. You're not going to make that up very easily. In fact, you may never make it up because you may not have enough capital to go make that trade back up again. So success sets us up for failure, if that makes sense. The more successful you are, the bigger the failure you're going to have in the inevitable future, because we know that at some point in the future that we're going to have a losing trade. That's how trading works. There's not been a single human being on the face of the earth that's ever traded and never had a loss. That's not how it works. We know that the loss is coming. So when that next loss comes, because we're now over position sized, we blow up our account. So winning, as perverse as it sounds, winning consecutively over and over again sort of sets us up for failure. And then we go into the first part of the year, and we have these 2 weeks that are just brutal, just ugly, and it really weighs on you, not just financially, of course, but psychologically as well. So now we're into this, these next 2 weeks of the month, third and fourth week of the month, and we kill it again. We're just absolutely kill it. And so I was talking to 3 of these traders that are in our trading room, and they were still bemoaning the fact that the first 2 weeks of the month were horrible. And I said, yeah, they were really bad. It was ugly. Everything we touched just didn't work. But these last 2 weeks have been amazing, right? So clearly you have recovered quite a bit of that. And they all said it in different ways, but they were all saying basically the same thing. One individual said, listen, I am so psychologically shell-shocked and damaged right now from the first 2 weeks of the month that I have not traded at all in these last 2 weeks. Every single day that you've been making $1,000 to $2,000 a day, day after day after day after day, yeah, I didn't trade any of those days because I was just so blown away mentally from the first 2 weeks that were ugly, right? So they didn't trade. One of the individuals said, and I'm trying to quote this as exact as I can, I need to wait to start trading again until I recoup the losses from the previous 2 weeks. I don't know how you're going to recoup those losses if you're not trading, right? You just threw away, depending on your account size and how much money you're trading, tens or 20s of thousands of dollars over the last couple of weeks because you weren't trading. So there is a psychological aspect to this. Profits can set us up for failure because we get overconfident. Losses can set us up for failure because we get off the horse. We do not get back on the horse. We don't get back to doing what we need to do. And you guys know the law of large numbers and how that works. We know that there's a 50-50 probability of flipping a coin that it's going to land on heads. But that does not negate the fact that you could flip a coin 9 times in a row and it lands on tails, right? Now, if you flip a coin 1,000 times, you're going to get about 500 on heads, 500 on tails. But in the short term, you can get crazy aberrations. So you've got to be able to trade through the good, and you've got to be able to trade through the bad. How do you do that? Number one, guys, we've got to be position sized correctly. You've got to have one single trade, not get you wealthy, and not blow up your account or get you frustrated, right? People brag about how much money they make on one trade, and I always worry about that because if you could make $5,000 on a trade, that also implies you could probably lose $5,000 on a trade, right? What is your comfort zone? Find that comfort zone and trade that. But you've got to stay in the game, guys. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the effort to get to where you want to go with this. One of the things that I've always tried to remember is that trading is a zero-sum game. Meaning for one to win, one must lose. For one to lose, one must win. Money doesn't simply appear. Money doesn't simply vanish. If you lose $1,000, it doesn't go into the ether system. That goes into someone else's pocket. If you make $1,000, that money didn't just simply appear out of nowhere. That came from someone else, right? So if you think about trading in this way, every single trade, every single alteration or permutation of a trade that you can conceive of in your mind is a successful winning trade. Every trade is a winning trade for someone. It may not be us, it may not be you, but it definitely is for someone. If it's not for us, it's for the individual that was on the other side of our trade, right? If we're doing a credit trade and we lose money, the debit trade guy made money. Conversely, if we're making money, there's someone on the other side of that trade that is losing money. So every trade is a winning trade for someone. And again, I get asked all the time, what's the key to success? And I say, I don't know, first of all, if I am successful. I don't know if you ever get to that point where you say, quote unquote, I'm successful. But I will say that any success I have had as a trader comes from the fact that I'm too stupid to quit. I'm just too stupid to quit. Members of our trading group that drop out are generally very cerebral, they're very analytical, they're very smart. And they've analyzed their situation and just said, hey, this doesn't work for me. I'm too stupid to come up to those conclusions. All I ever say is, look, somebody's making money every single day in the marketplace. And so if it's not me, then it isn't the market's fault. It's not the strategy's fault. It's my implementation of that strategy that is the problem, right? But somebody is making money every single day. Every single trade has the potential to be 100% profitable if you're on the right side of that trade. And so it comes down really to how much effort do you want to put in, how much study do you want to do, and how committed are you to becoming really good at something. Tony Robbins talks about being exceptional, being a 1%er in life. We've all read the book from Malcolm Gladwell about 10,000 hours of study that it takes to become experts at something. So develop a skill set, guys. Hone in, focus, strategize on your approach to the markets. Analyze what you're doing, track what you're doing, and have, as again Tony Robbins says, 20/20 hindsight, which he calls sensory acuity. Just the ability to look at what you've done over the past month and say, okay, none of us are perfect. We're never going to be perfect, but we can certainly improve. And so as we go forward as traders, we should basically have fewer and smaller mistakes going forward. And hopefully the mistakes that we're making as traders going forward are new mistakes, right? Hopefully we're not committing the same errors, the same mistakes over and over again, because we're learning, we're growing as a trader. But I just want to share that with you guys. You gotta stick through. You got to maintain discipline in the good. You got to trade through the bad, and you can trade through the bad. You can keep discipline in the good if you have rules that you follow, and you can push through the bad if you are properly position sized. Otherwise, we end up in a situation where we are damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. It doesn't really matter what the market's doing. We are setting ourselves up for failure. Hope that helps you guys. Talk to you soon.